Yo, welcome back to the Shuffle Squad. Zach Lesage here. We're gonna be covering over kind of my NAIC tier list. I made some new icons. I hope that I put them all in here. I think I did. Either way, we're gonna be kind of covering the decks between the best decks and not very well positioned decks. I'm happy if your deck's well positioned. Sorry if your deck's not well positioned. If you want to fight for your deck in the comments, that's really cool. If you just want to leave a comment saying I'm first, yo, what's up, Zach, anything, all that helps boost the YouTube algorithm. Kind of jumping into it, I think I'm going to kick it off with Dango Dragapult. So I'm just choosing a deck here. I think it's mostly playable-ish. It might end up falling above to very well positioned, but I think like right now with straight Dragapult falling down a little bit, this deck is kind of looking towards like it's gonna spike towards the top. But as of right now, the Thursday before NAIC, a week before we all do check-in, I think it's mostly playable-ish, but I do think this is a deck to look out for. Could be oddly hot into the metagame, into Gardevoir, maybe Dragapult Dust Noir, maybe some other decks there. Toadscruel seems kind of well positioned. I think it's like a little bit under the Dango Dragapult. Not my favorite-ish deck in formats, but definitely really cool that it saw its success in Portland. And I think we might see some other players continue on with these late Journey Together findings between Toadscruel, maybe Poison Roaring Moon that won the special event in Bologna. And we might see those decks just like kind of like fall in between the cracks, but I think it's kind of well positioned. It's kind of probably where I'm going to put Poison Roaring Moon. These are decks that just don't really gain much from Destined Rivals, but they have some kind of setting in the metagame. I think I'm going to start putting decks that were previously good in the metagame, like Enzork, kind of in the almost playable-ish decks. I think they're like good. Maybe I need to reevaluate where Shaman and Rabska are in the format. But between Enzork and Terrabox dealing with Wellspring and copying Enstar Manatan, I think those decks kind of struggle a little bit in our current formats. Definitely Bench Barrier Shaman being an issue to deal with. I think that Archaladon with Surprise Bomb seems kind of strong. It's like mostly playable-ish. I think it's like kind of a top 15 or so deck, but not really cutting it in the format. So lower top 10, kind of top 15. Same thing with like our Armarouge box. I could see Armarouge box kind of going up in the format a little bit as players crack the code on that deck. But using Ethan's Ho-Oh and having a flimsy stage 1 line seems like it's a weird way to get a deck set up, but when it works, it's been pretty great. Another deck that I think is kind of well positioned is just like Blaziken, Monkey Dory, gaining access to the new Blaziken, the new Torchic lines. That seems pretty strong, but nothing too crazy there. Charizard is mostly playable-ish, bottom top 10, kind of top 15 or so deck. I think it's better than it was previously, but not really much enough. Like it enters in, you should probably have it built. Hero's Cape helps protect you against some of these grass type Pokemon. Ethan's Typhlosion is going to probably fall into that category as well, into the mostly playable-ish decks, but nothing like outside of the realm of like, it's all right. I don't think it's anything like amazing. Being able to have a single prize card attacker, but you also have to play Pidgeot, like, I think it's good into most decks that aren't Dragapult, and considering almost all the decks that we're probably going to see in very well positioned to the best decks are going to be playing Dragapult. Garchomp, I think, is going to be a kind of well-positioned deck. I think it seems pretty cool, but I'm like not 100% sold on the archetype. It's a deck that could definitely grow with the metagame, and it could change if the metagame shifts up a little bit, but it's not really there. Roaring Moon to Dunsparce is probably going to be in the kind of well-positioned deck, so decks that have just kind of like, they were once okay, top 32-ish or so as decks. They seem fine. Nothing that I'm like super excited about. Like these are type of decks that I have built at almost all times. Like I'm gonna have all these decks built. I think I have 25 decks, 5, 10, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, give or take. I'm gonna have most of these decks built for NAIC format, and we'll see how it plays out. I feel like I'm probably going to leave one of these at home, maybe. There's Dragapult, Ethan's Typhlosion. I think it's mostly playable. I think decks like this are just like almost as good as a regular Dragapult deck, but not like they have slightly different matchups, but it's not as great as I want it to be. Marnie's Grimmsnarl, I think it's a very well positioned deck. It's kind of the new deck in the format, but as players continue to work on their decks and build them the best they possibly can, I think Marnie's Grimmsnarl seems absolutely fantastic in our metagame, having some strong matchups against Gardevoir and stuff like that. Joltik Box is another deck that I think carries over well into this format, having a decent bit of answers to the metagame, gaining a new good matchup in Marnie's Grimmsnarl, and not really changing too much else about how the metagame. People are going to forget about it, but I think it's still going to be a very strong deck into a lot of the metagame. Dango with Ethan's Typhlosion, definitely feel like this is going to be a deck that we are, it seems mostly playable-ish. Like, I don't think it's bad. It just seems mostly playable-ish. Nothing out of the ordinary there. Gardevoir with just kind of straight Gardevoir, I think is going to be one of the best decks in formats. Gardevoir continues to be one of the best decks in format, and I think we're going to put both Gardevoirs there. I put Gardevoir Rapska there because I don't know if top players know if they're playing Rapska or if they're playing Shaman. Maybe both, probably not, but I think it's either Rapska or not, and I think we could see people make arguments on both sides. I'm personally staying away from the Rapska build just because I think players are going to be playing Dragapult Dusknoir, and that's what I'm going to be putting as another deck in the best decks format. So I'm actually going to probably knock down the Gardevoir Rapska to very well positioned, and it's going to be Gardevoir with Shaman, even though it shows Monkey Dory, it's just the straight up Gardevoir build, and then Dragapult Dusknoir. Just having access to Dusknoir seems very good in this format since we don't have the Curse Blast blocking Psyduck. Yanmega seems like it's kind of well positioned, nothing crazy here. Nothing crazy, it's just all right. Dragapult Charizard seems like it's, I'm gonna put it at mostly playable-ish, to very well positioned. It could definitely like spike up a little bit, but I think like the deck is, it's not as strong as I wanted into Dragapult decks, and that's one of the issues that we have into the Goldango decks as well. Stray Dragapult is probably going to be in the same category of mostly playable-ish. I think it's not as good as Dragapult Dusknoir, and I think we're going to see a little bit less play from that deck as we look at the format. Ceruledge, to me, probably falls into the kind of well-positioned, and maybe like almost playable-ish category. I don't know. Maybe I'm being too nice to some decks and not nice enough to others. But I think we don't actually have any decks that aren't like not well positioned yet. It's too early to tell, and maybe I could have just like completely obliterated the bottom category. But I could see like, I don't know, maybe a deck like Enzoric isn't well positioned, but I just don't want it to pull up, so I think it's almost playable-ish. EV Box to me seems very well positioned in the formats. You gain Leafeon for Marnie's deck, and then otherwise it plays kind of the same. It's been seeing a lot of success in the past few weeks, so I like it. Raging Bolts is another one of these very well positioned decks, very strong into the metagame, and I don't really see too much of it changing. Like, it could add grass types for Marnie's Grimmsnarl. Marnie's Grimmsnarl might fall down a little bit, but we'll see. Rocket's Mewtwo seems like it's, I want to put this deck at like almost playable-ish. I just don't think it's as strong as I want it to be. Even Tord took it to Japan and did not make day 2 with it. And he's Tord. Best of 1 could do that to you, but I think that Rocket's Mewtwo is just not where I want it to be. Ethan's Ho-Oh is also probably an almost playable-ish, but I think it's naturally turned itself into the Armor Rouge Ho-Oh box. Is there anything that I want to like change here? I like where our best decks are. Gardevoir and Dragapult have been running the format forever, and I think that these are like very strong builds. Grimmsnarl, Joltik, Gardevoir, Eevee, Jolt, that sounds good. Archaludon seems okay for all of these, to be honest. I think like these are all mostly playable-ish decks, kind of well-positioned decks. Yeah, I don't think there's any deck that I would say is not well-positioned right now. I think anything like that would fall into misinformation. I only included like the top 25 or so decks. I think that like maybe I'm forgetting one of them, but reasonably it's just like the type of decks where I'm like, they either just did really well in Journey Together, they're kind of like decks that exist in the format, but I'd probably put decks like Mammoth Swine and Hydreigon in the not well position. And I just don't think we have the day twos or the numbers to really push with the like to push that agenda right now. So I'm going to leave it as is, but otherwise I think this is a pretty solid call for the metagame. And I hope it helps you decide your decks for the best decks. Tomorrow we're going to have the top 10 best decks. So you'll see exactly where my thoughts, my lists are. So be sure to stay tuned for that. Other than that, I will catch up with all y'all later. Peace out and have a great one. Want to support the Shuffle Squad? Be sure to check out all of our sponsors in the description to pick up Pokemon TCG singles, sealed, and PTCG live codes.
Tabi no hajimari wa tsune ni michi e no ippo de aru. Sore wa yami e to tsuzuku. 初めの一歩を踏み出すには勇気がいる。そして旅の終わりには旅を始めた時の自分とは別人になっているかもしれない。旅に出よう。物語の次の章がお主を待っている。将軍の道を歩め。侍の箱とともに。アルティメットガードが送る冒険の第一章。刀将軍の道近日発売。
Thank you so much for watching this video. I hope that you enjoyed the content that we have today, and maybe you'll click on one of these other videos, enjoy those videos too. If you haven't already, give this video a like, subscribe to the channel, and let us know in the comments what video you want to watch next. Until next time, we'll catch up with all y'all later. Have yourself a great day.